I find this project extremely original, extremely useful, and helpful to the development of scholarly cooperation between Polish and American academia. The project's role in promoting Poland's history or East Central Europe's history in the 20th century is enormous, in my opinion, and it has got a huge impact on our perceptions, mutual perceptions of Polish and American historians and all other people dealing with the process of publishing historical, scientific, or scholarly books.
I've been a participant in the workshop for the past 5 out of 6 years. On the actually what happens during the workshop and during your few hours that you're workshopping, you have the benefit of 3, 5, 6 scholars, depending on the number that is chosen for each project, of getting very intensive, detailed feedback on their feelings about the project as a whole, but also how they're reading each chapter and what parts they think need improvement and works that the author may not know about. And I think that there's disagreement and friction between the participants who are the experts. They don't all come at this with the same point of view, nor does the author, but what we're getting are really important scholarly conversations and the kind of important historiographical debate that very few authors ever get to benefit from. In the form of a reader's report, you get something flat that you just respond to from the pixels on your screen or a piece of paper. Here, it's actually the guts of talking through a project. And I know that that has changed and reshaped projects. It's also led authors, to think, I'm on the right path. Look, these scholars agree with me. Here's what I can do more of. And so I think that that has been invaluable for my authors. It's really good for me to hear. I take a lot of notes at the workshop. I absolutely listen to the recordings if we have them afterwards. Not everything can be enacted. It would be impossible. Lots of people have lots of opinions on the books, but they're important voices that get taken into consideration as we revise the books. And those manuscripts, I think, have made important changes afterwards. And I'm really proud of what my authors have produced. Many of the books that I have workshopped have come out, and they're winning prizes and they're getting attention. And I take that as a sign of this process being one of the many things that's contributing to those becoming fantastic books. For me personally, the workshop has been a tremendous opportunity to learn about my culture or part of my, heritage, but also to break down the prejudices that I perhaps had in thinking about what the communist world looked like and what a post-communist society looks like and what democracy looks like in Eastern Europe. So I just wanted to add that it's not what I expected. I didn't think after going once that I would ever do the trip again. I thought this is a one-shot opportunity. I'm going to take it. And, years later, I see that this is something I always hope I have a manuscript because I so enjoy and value my time in Poland.
For the Museum of the Polish History, participating in the project is very useful because we get in touch with many historians from abroad, from America, from other Anglo-Saxon, especially countries. And this is the opportunity first to change the image of Poland and Polish history in the eyes of foreigners. But secondly, for us as a museum, this is an opportunity to establish new contacts, to have network of friends, which is very fruitful in other projects, in making new exhibitions, in making research projects, in making educational projects that require international cooperation and collaboration.
I'm really glad that we did it on Zoom this year because my author got fantastic feedback and she needed it because the book needed to go into production this fall. So I couldn't have held that one off, but there are other authors that I did delay because I think that the experience on the ground can't be replaced.
I've been an editor of books that have appeared at the sessions. and I've also been an expert, as I was this year. So I've seen from different perspectives. And of course, I've been involved in the project from the start, so I can get a sense of how this year was very different, for obvious reasons, than previous years. So the first thing I would say is I thought all of the experts and the authors adapted as best they could to a very difficult circumstance. And certainly we want to express our appreciation and thanks to all of them. That being said, there are significant problems with trying to do this on Zoom. As the session goes on, people develop what everyone now calls Zoom fatigue, which is very real. As you're on Zoom for an hour and a half, you begin to have difficulty following what's going on. I'm teaching a graduate seminar that's 2.5 hours long, and the last 45 minutes is very problematic. And I have excellent students, but at the end of a certain amount of Zoom time, it's very difficult for people.
In-person contacts are much better than online ones because our discussions extend beyond the sessions themselves, and also can be carried on during dinners, for example, informal conversations, when we do the sightseeing together, and many aspects, many views of ours can be expressed much more understandably, much more directly, and thus we first of all establish closer interpersonal contacts, but also we may help each other better understand our point of view on a specific matter.
And then the obvious thing is, of course, if we're visiting places, then people start to see connections for themselves. We can talk to them all we want about, you know, what a multicultural place the early modern Commonwealth was, but there's nothing quite like going to Zamość and seeing the house of a Jewish merchant, an Armenian merchant, an Italian merchant, a German, just one after the other, and some of the other places we visited, or seeing the contrast between Krakow and Warsaw just on a simple basis. This is something that is really important for a lot of our authors who are not necessarily specialists on Poland.
In 2018, Professor James Phelock from University of Washington, he was there, and we hadn't met in person before. So it's the first time we met in person. I had known of his work for like 15 years, and sometimes we correspond. And then we took this long walk together to the Wawel Castle, and went to Pilsudski's tomb and saw the tombs of kings and queens. There was something very moving about that whole experience of just being able to interact with another professor, see sites actually kind of, in this case, by ourselves, but to be able to, like, you know, discuss these things that wouldn't happen in a virtual setting. So that was very, very beneficial. And also that was one benefit from having another scholar there see the seminar, like I saw his seminar, and then we could chat and walk through Krakow and literally walk to Pilsudski's tomb. You're not going to get a better situation than that, I think, for an American scholar. So there's huge benefit to that, in my view.